Ciao. Let's talk about it. There's a woman, a white woman, on this app right now who is taking recommendations to call people's individual churches. She plays a crying baby MP3 sound in the background and pretends to be a mother with a crying infant who hasn't eaten in 48 hours and asks them if they can help her. They're hanging up in her face. And there were only 3 churches that have helped her so far. A black church, hello, amen. A mosque, okay? And a small Appalachian church tried to help her. These are the 3 groups that tried to help her. Every other church has hung up in her face or told her that they can't help her.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen. So guys, amid all this SNAP benefit chaos, imagine calling up 26 churches to ask for help getting a baby formula, and only 3 out of 26 accept to help you, while the other ones try to route you to somebody else, or they refuse to help altogether. And then only on the first ring, only a mosque decides to help you. So this is such a case where Black Americans and Americans in general are going to be reacting to this social experiment where a white woman was calling up churches and most of them turned her away.
Right. In today's society, really, people can be forgiven for thinking that churches really are in need for making money, because out of all the money they make through donations and also being that they're being tax exempted, you know, the least they could do is at least help somebody who is in need. But let's watch what we've prepared for you, and then we come back and talk about it. But you let us know your thoughts and opinion on the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here. Let's watch.
So I was just scrolling TikTok and I found this woman who calls local churches and pretends that her baby is hungry to see if they will buy her child a small baby formula. And I'm going to put her at in the bottom. And it is actually mind-boggling to me how many of these churches say no. So then I was like, you know what? Let me acknowledge my ignorance. What does a small baby formula cost? So like I looked it up and it's roughly between $5 to $20. And to think that these churches who get incredible amounts of tax exemptions and all types of shit would say no to such thing is like kind of like unfathomable to me. I'm almost certain that like every religion has some semblance of take care of your neighbor or do unto others as you want to be done unto yourself. You know, I'm sure Islam has one. I'm sure Buddhism has one. I know for a fact Christianity has one. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to look out for your peoples. And like it's people on the phone, like pastors on the phone, dead telling this lady no. So I implore you guys, go scroll this lady's page. Shout out to her, she's doing the Lord's work. But go scroll this lady's page and watch some of these videos. It's like it's the craziest shit to me in the world. I'm not a church. If a stranger on the street asked me to buy them a formula for a baby, my mouth couldn't even form the words no. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so crazy to me, bro. And it hurts me to say that a lot of these churches that I'm seeing are Christian churches. And I just want to say they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Because, shit, man, God would not be happy looking at this. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, go scroll this lady, support her. She's doing the Lord's work for.
Okay, so I've been calling your churches to test to see if they would help feed a starving baby.
That woman is quite literally doing the Lord's work. If you're not familiar with her and she hasn't been showing up on your feed, that's Nikaylee. She's doing this whole social experiment, but the people on the other end of the line, they don't know it's not real. I have long said that if Christ were to return for the second coming, that these so-called Christians would crucify him immediately. Now, there was one call that she did that was not a Christian church. It was a mosque. And this is what happened.
Islamic Center of Charlotte, overlooking.
Hi, yes. I was trying to call. I have a 2-month-old baby, and I ran out of formula last night, and I was wanting to see if there's any way you all could help with a can of baby formula.
We can, ma'am. Where do you live? Do you live in Charlotte?
Yes, I'm like 10 minutes from you all.
Okay. And what kind of formula you using?
It's the Good Start.
Good Start. Yeah, that's fine, ma'am. If you come over here, we'll help you.
Interesting that the scary Muslim people immediately asked, "Where are you? What do you need?" Literally Nikaylee is doing the Lord's work. Because at the very least, I'm hoping that these Christian churches that she's putting on blast, I hope that the people who go to these churches see her TikToks and are like, what the fuck? And then maybe they'll actually help the community. But yeah, great job, Nikaylee.
We gotta tax the churches, okay? Even before Nikaylee started doing this riveting investigative journalism, the fact that evangelical churches and pastors often pressure their congregation about partisan politics from the pulpit and still got to enjoy tax-exempt status was a big problem for me. But hearing white evangelical church after white evangelical church refuse to help this mother, hearing her baby wailing in the background with just like a simple can of formula because she wasn't a tithing member, really drove the point home. If they're to continue to enjoy tax-exempt status, there needs to be more transparency and there needs to be a requirement of allocation of a specific amount of funds to community service, philanthropy, some sort of community aid. And the only reason I'm not just blanket stating they should lose tax-exempt status altogether are because of the Catholic churches, the mosque, the Buddhist temple, and Black churches who immediately offered assistance without requirement or question. These videos have done more to show that these Christian nationalist churches, which is exactly what they are, white evangelical churches are just Christian nationalist Chuck E. Cheese with a PDF file at the pulpit who thinks more about Donald Trump than Jesus.
The audacity of places of worship not giving back to the community just baffles me, because you're literally taking up space, you're occupying space, you're not paying taxes, you label yourself as a community service and a place of worship, but then when a woman is seemingly calling and she just needs one can of baby formula, she's in need and it's urgent, you can hear the baby crying in the background. Suddenly it's no, but we can give you a number for the services. You can't even pick up a can of baby formula to help a lady in need. How are you giving back to the community if you can't even give up a can of baby formula? I don't know about you guys, but Allah tells us multiple times in the Quran to take care of the needy and the poor and help them whatever religion they are. And I use the ability to look up this verse in the Quran. That's why out of 50 churches that this lady called, only a mosque replied, because that's what a place of worship should truly be about. Actually, we should have a law that says if you're a place of worship, whether you're a church, a synagogue, a temple, a mosque, you don't give back to the community, you don't help the community, you should literally be taxed. That is if you have the means to do so, of course. A lot of these churches are taking donations and they're not giving anything back. There are people struggling and you claim to be for the community, you take the donation from the community and you don't even give anything back. This is corruption of places of worship and it should stop. It's exactly what pushes people away from religion, because the very places of worship that is tied to God that they go to for help and closure treats them like this. This is absolutely disgusting and disheartening. It shouldn't be happening like this.
This is a test that we were telling y'all to pay attention to and have discernment with when it came to post November 1st as these SNAP benefits cut. There is a reason why churches do not have to pay taxes, because they're supposed to be a net positive community good. What they're doing is being a community touch point so people can go there for guidance, help, resources, all of those things. That's why they don't have to pay taxes. So you're tithing to these people, you're giving money to these churches, you're giving money to these organizations, you're being made to feel like shit if you don't have enough. They're sucking you dry. And if it were you, because it could always be you, especially in America, they would hang you out to dry. These churches don't know that this isn't really a woman starving with an infant who hasn't eaten in 48 hours. This is their true character. And this is why I made that podcast episode last year about how Black people shouldn't be Christian. And it's been proven time and time again. Obviously, that's a tongue-in-cheek title, obviously. But we saw it proven with the Charlie Kirk thing. We were seeing it with the SNAP thing. Whatever brand of Christianity some of y'all are sucking up, particularly the Black people who are spouting out shit like, I can't be too pro-Black, so I'm anti-Christian. You are being lied to. You are under spells, people. You are under spells. This is the whole point of Sinners, or one of the many points. Christianity as vampiric. Colonization as vampiric. Sucking you dry. Turning you into a shell of yourself. until you're a carbon copy of the person that colonized you.
Let's talk about this creator that I tagged below that's calling churches, mosques, and other religious organizations, and she has a crying baby sound in the background, and she's asking them if they can get her 1 can of formula because her baby hasn't eaten in a day. Click on her link, go watch some of those videos, but I want to talk about something that's really troubling inside of the Christian church these days. Out of all the mosques she called, I think every single one of them were like, hey, do you live close enough? We can get you this bottle of formula. We're going to come get it. Out of the Christian churches she called, it's like 4 out of 26 offered to help her. The real shame of it is that most of those just hung up the phone with her, said they couldn't help, sorry, call somebody else. But I think the real problem with this lies in something deeper. These churches have outsourced their helping hand to organizations in the community that they support. They send financial resources, they send material resources to an organization that they try to funnel all of the people that need help into, which is great. It's fabulous for the community to have these resources where someone can go to one spot instead of having to call multiple different churches. But what I've noticed with the people she's talking to at these churches on the phone is that with the outsourcing of helping people individually like this, they've outsourced their empathy, they've outsourced their ability to want to help individually, which is what Jesus called Christians to do. Remember, she's only asking for 1 can of formula to get her baby through another couple days. And these people are straight up saying, sorry, can't help you. Have you called this place? Have you called that place? She says, yes, I've called them, but with the SNAP benefit program closed down, they don't have any way to help. And so they just literally, I wish it was face-to-face, but they're over the phone. They are literally telling this poor mom whose baby hasn't eaten, sorry, can't go get you a $10 can of formula because we don't have processes in place to do that. And I know you're thinking, my church would never. That's probably what all the people that go to these churches thought. But on a positive note, shout out to the old grandpa pastor in Kentucky. That man was as empathetic as you could get, and he was jumping in his truck to go buy her formula right now. Moral of the story, churches, it's great to have organizations where you can funnel people to get the maximum amount of help, but don't let it rob you of your own compassion.
When are you guys going to wake up and realize that a lot of the churches you're going to are pyramid schemes? They're money laundering. They're scammers. Your tithing is not going where it should be going. When are you going to wake up and realize that? I know y'all not going to like this one. There is a woman on this app that is doing essentially a social experiment where she's calling different churches in Kentucky of different denominations, saying that she has a hungry baby, playing even baby screaming sounds in the background, saying she has a hungry baby and needs formula and sees what church is willing to help her. And she's done like almost 30 churches now. You want to know how many churches out of like those 30 churches that have actually been willing to help? 3 churches. 3 churches. A Catholic church, a mosque, and a Baptist church. Always minorities. It's always going to be minorities. Never a white nationalist Christian church. Never will be one of those. But it's just very interesting how y'all are so surprised. This is one of the reasons why I have turned away from religion. Now, would I say I'm still faithful? Yes. Do I believe in God? Yes. But I don't believe in organized religion. I don't. And this is only the one of the many reasons. And shout out to the Catholic Church, because I was raised Catholic. Shout out to the Catholic Church. Like, they called back and were trying to help her. So I got to put shout out to Catholic Church. Even though I may not attend church, that really honestly made me proud. But when are y'all going to wake up? When are you going to wake up? That church is a political pawn now too, as well. Your churches are becoming a political pawn. And most of these churches are out for your money. They're out for your money, not really to help the needy, not to clothe the poor, not to aid the sickly, not to feed the hungry. Like, wake up, people. This is the times we're in.
Do I have, issues sometimes with the Muslim community? Yes. Was I at all surprised when the masjid immediately offered baby formula to that woman who was trying to call and test religious centers to see if they would actually provide for their people? No, I was not, because masjids always come through. They're always going to provide, and they're always going to take care of their neighbors. If you're ever in trouble, I guarantee 90% of the time, if you go to a masjid and ask for help, they will give you help.
I don't know if you guys have seen the woman that's calling all the churches asking for donations for the formula to feed her daughter, right? And I saw so far that only 3 out of the 32 churches that she called actually offered her the money. 2 were black churches and 1 was a mosque. Out of all of them. Now, I'm a witch. Everybody knows that I'm a witch, and I'm hosting a food drive here in Pittsburgh next Saturday, November 15th at the Wonder Witch Boutique here in Allentown in Pittsburgh. If the witches are raising money and raising food for the people that need it, why aren't the churches? The churches don't pay taxes. Why are they not helping their constituents? The whole point of churches not paying taxes is so they can help the poor, so that they can feed the hungry. So when the hungry are calling them and they are hanging up on them, why aren't the churches paying taxes? If someone like me, who has gone hungry before myself, can host a food drive to feed our neighbors, why can't the churches?
2 predominantly black or African American Baptist church and 1 mosque. Out of 25 to 30 churches in Kentucky. One creator on this app, I'm going to tag her below. 2 Baptist churches, predominantly African American or black, and 1 mosque are the only churches who, when she called and said, I have a starving newborn baby, can you help me with formula? Those are the only 3 out of about 30 churches that helped. This creator is literally playing in the background of her phone calls, screaming baby sounds. It sounds like a newborn is crying because it's very, very hungry. And these people from the church, tax-free, mind you, commanded by their religion to help, mind you, the whole reason they're there, mind you, have pretty much all said no. Except for 2 Baptist church and 1 mosque. So if you look like me, and every week you are giving your money to a church, they need to be audited by their congregation immediately. Ask them where the money is going, or stop giving it to them. Immediately we will be donating to the mosque.
So guys, welcome back. Yeah, I do believe that it is important to note that not all churches behave the way most of these churches behaved, right? But a majority of them, right now, people can't help but wonder, are they in need for the money? Because like just right now, how many of you are quite sure that the churches around you would come to your aid should you ever need anything or any support, especially food-wise or financial-wise from the church?
Right, guys, let's go back to the days where missionaries were spreading Christianity, right? Even the days of colonization here in Africa where people were being converted into Christians. And whatever they used to spread a lot was loving their neighbor and always helping somebody in need, right? When they were spreading the Bibles and also asking people to become Christians. The whole idea here was to always help somebody in need. But it's quite telling when the churches expect people to always attend services. They expect people to always contribute towards whatever cost they have. They expect people to always bring offerings. They expect people to always remove their tithings, yeah? But when it comes to such events where this was just one woman in a community who was not asking for money, she was not asking for a lot, she was not asking for a house. The only thing she came forward to ask for was just 1 baby formula, 1 bottle of baby formula. And indeed, I did see, because you know you can hear people talk and it can become a story, you hear it as a rumor. But I did see one of these videos for myself where this creator was calling the churches, and there was this church that was being led by a black American woman, yeah, and she called that church, and whoever received the phone told her that she would forward the call to that lady who normally preaches in that in that church. And the most unfortunate thing is that when she was talking to that woman, the woman asked her what she needed, and she said her baby, she hadn't fed her baby since the previous night, and she needed just 1 bottle of baby formula. And she also asked, are you a member at this church? And she said no. And she said, sorry, I can't help you, we don't deal with such issues. So my question is, if you can't even just donate 1 bottle of baby formula, what good is your institution, and why should people keep having faith in you to come back to your institution in order for it to grow?
Right, because if I were to understand correctly the events that just happened with these videos, yeah, even Jesus himself, from the very famous book in the world, the Bible, if he could have operated under this stature, he couldn't have helped so many people, right? If only he was helping only his followers and his disciples, could we have gotten to this point, guys? Because I do remember one very specific story from the Bible that makes it a very unique story, where he helped the woman who was a prostitute. Yeah, he helped her. So had Jesus himself refused to help such kind of people, what would Christianity be right now? And this is why they say a lot of times that in the Christianity religion, there's a lot of hypocrisy within the church.
Right, and somebody once said that there's no love like, there's no hate like Christian love, you know. And, all this just makes sense, and it makes people open their eyes more wider to these kind of things, because it's quite sad in a society where people are supposed to band together. I do believe that there was a time where in history where the most important institutions in a country was the government and the church. Those two things were the pillars of a country, because should anything go wrong and people needed that food for the soul, they always ran to the church in order for them to help. And I do believe that in the olden days, people used to be helped by the churches. If you feel like you're having conflict at home, you run to the church. That's where you find solace. There is where you find refuge, But even right now, it's like everything, people are playing in each other's faces. And right now, everybody's looking to make a quick buck. And because this was a social experiment, meaning the other person on the phone, because
didn't know it was a social experiment.
And people were saying on the comment section, some Christians were not happy, of course, because they were saying, why do you need to play with people like that? But that was not the point. They kind of missed the message, And others were saying that probably those priests didn't comply because she wasn't a member. But do you need to be a member in order for you to be helped? If we were moving with that mantra, then it means that even America would stop batting in other nations' issues, because currently, as we speak, Donald Trump wants to send in troops in Nigeria because the Christians there are getting unalived. So are Nigerians, the Christians in Nigeria, are they members of the American state? So if we are talking about being a member, then it means a lot of things wouldn't be happening just because you don't have memberships. But what can I say? Right now, a lot of people are making money in different ways, and this unfortunately looks to be one of them.
Right, and if also we were to operate under this system of you only have to be a member in order to be accepted into a certain church, I've not seen anywhere in the Bible being said that only members of a certain church will get into heaven, right? The Bible says clearly, you might be a sinner, but if your heart is right with the Lord, and if you truly are repentant, even if you don't belong to a certain church, you'll still get into heaven, right? So are we right to believe that you need membership in order to get into heaven? But these churches,
right? At the end of the day, you have to look at somebody's request. Is this something reasonable? And I feel like baby formula is something very, very reasonable. So if you can't depend on churches around you to do that, then what happens if Donald Trump, because I hear that he has gone to the Supreme Court because of the ruling that he needed to reinstall SNAP benefits. Let's just say that he wins and they don't have to enforce SNAP benefits. Does it mean that the role that the church is going to play into helping out the community is going to be that much minimal?
Right, because I do feel like it is time for people to really evaluate the institutions around them that call themselves churches, right? Because I do believe that Christians usually give tithing with all their hearts, right? And if you are ever in need and you're not even sure that the churches around you will never be able to help you because you don't belong to every one of those churches, you don't tithe to every one of those churches, what good are the churches if they can't be depended on?
And you have to remember that these institutions are being exempted when it comes to taxation, meaning they're making a lot of money that is not going back into the community in the form of taxation. But guys, let us know what you think about this episode. We'd be very happy to hear your thoughts. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here.